Welcome, everyone. And if you are just getting here or new and you're running across this stream, then this is all about turbofans and 3D printed engines. So I'm going to give people a chance to mosey on in and see what happens. Good morning, well, afternoon, I should say. Hey, welcome. How's it going, VXD? Just getting out there trying to show what we're doing and what the updates are. I've kind of done a dry fitting on the engine just to kind of let people see what's going on. Of course, you got to have coffee in your DPC stubby fan mug. If only all the new viewers saw the videos that if only all the people have seen the videos beforehand where we were running V1 and it was pushing the table across the floor and it was just making that insane thrust. And now we're moving towards, bigger and better motors. I don't know what all these buttons are for. Okay. There we go. Oh, I know what that does. What does this one do? Apparently retouch is on. I have no idea what that is, but okay. And what's this? Oh, it's highlighting saving to my videos. I had no idea. Okay, so I guess you can clip it. I don't know. I'm getting used to the live verticals, everyone. So I'm getting used to iPhone. Well, it is a treacherous journey. These will be available soon. Eventually. As soon as I get my site up, then everyone can have a stubby fan mug. Of course, no one will appreciate it, like I said, unless they've seen the very first version. And if you remember correctly, I know you remember. I specifically know PXD remembers. Basically, when I strapped that thing down to a table, like a 50-pound table, it had wheels on it, but it was still 50 pounds of iron, and it moved it across a carpet. You remember that? So now we have this new version that we're working on. First, we had the insanity of this one here. Ductwork's off of it, but everything's still together. And I've got kind of a new interface here, so I can kind of play around with that motor a little bit until I'm done with this one because I am waiting for the carbon fiber rods because they sent me the wrong ones. So they mixed up the order. I was like, I need 4mm by 100, and they're like, okay, here's 1mm by 400. So once that's squared away, then we'll get this thing hooked up. But I kind of, once people mosey on in, so I'm not having to repeat myself, but I will, you know, if people are interested. The fan is, like I mentioned before on the old fan, I'm not entirely sure what happened. I think it was just the heat that I had for it. When I did the double color, it's kind of delaminated because I dropped the fan. Well, if I can't take a little bit of dings on the corner, then obviously it's not going to be a good fan. So what I did is I didn't do any color transitions on the other fan. And I did it at 50% speed, which made it come out a lot cleaner and a lot stronger. Hey, Buck, how you doing? Welcome. So I'll give you a look-see at the new one. And it looks good inside that case. And it is indexed already. I have a cap that I'm building for this that runs a 4mm screw down in here just to kind of button that up. That goes all the way through. And you can see it's going to spin those planetaries right there as I spin the fan. So everything's about ready. And then once this is indexed into the planetaries with those carbon fiber rods and the 10mm bearings, then the motor will do the turning. And you'll be able to see this thing run. It'll spin up. And it's just... it's doing exactly what I expected. It's catching like it's supposed to. It's spinning like it's supposed to. I am gonna put a casing because I'm gonna take all this back apart. This isn't like the final assembly of the whole thing. So on the outside of this casing, I'm gonna put sort of a TPU cover. And that's really just to make sure that any of the lubrication that goes in here kind of stays in here. It'll be vented though, so in the CNC diversion, it can cool it, or I'm going to just do the cooling fins on the side and seal the whole thing so that it can run in oil for those gears. But for the purposes of 3D printed parts, you know, it's just the interflon is perfect for that. And I'm going to be using a combination of the paste, the HT1200, and a combination of Fin Super to see how the gears act. Basically, it'll be a paste that'll be thinned out a little bit by the Fin Super. So we'll see how the gears and everything fare with those lubricants on board. Giggity. And so as I was kind of dry fitting everything together here and testing the fit, I didn't really notice any major problems. You know that these exterior planetaries have the 10mm holes in them for the bearings, and that there's a 4mm rod that goes all the way through. That's going to let this motor turn the whole assembly without having to rely on the actual layer adhesion on the PETG through the bearing. I think it would just snap right off, just with the torque that we're dealing with. So the carbon fiber rods will make a big difference. The bearings will help. It'll keep everything smooth. And as this rotates, then this will rotate. And you can hear those gears in there, sort of. You kind of hear them. Kind of a clicky noise. They are bigger teeth, so I think they'll wear in the first the first couple hundred RPMs will start wearing in and seating properly. But once Now on the other, you noticed before on some of the previous videos that I'd done, the planetaries have a 10mm bore all the way through. And I have a small 10mm cap, or 9.8mm, so it'll slide in there. That'll go at the end of that so that those bearings don't get pushed through all the way. And then the carbon fiber rod will go through the top. Let's see if I can show you really quick. The top here on the case, on the index, that'll go through each planetary. That'll spin that sun gear, and that sun gear will spin the fan. Basically the same principle as this planetary group that we had in metal. But I wanted to make sure I did kind of a short live, or it's a regular long live today. So I could kind of catch you guys up on how things are going. The printing went well on just about everything. I think right now, literally the only thing I'm waiting on are those carbon fiber rods. And that'll do it. The index shaft went in perfectly, indexed with the sun gear like it was supposed to. And the only thing I can see in there that I might need to do is I might need to make another sun gear with a 4mm hole, so that I can run one of these screws through the top this direction, so that it bores into the index here that's on the other end, to keep the planetary gear itself from getting moved out. But then on the other end of that, I thought, okay, well, do I need to do that? Because I've entrapped the bearing here, and we know that the shaft is entrapped in there because of the way it's designed. I'll get actually I think I have one right here. It's on this fan. So on this fan, you can see up there how on the outside, on the back side of the bearing, you have these 3mm screws that tap in, and then I use a silicone glue because it can be peeled off if I need to. That keeps the bearing from getting pulled forward. It keeps the shaft itself from getting pulled forward. And then you saw the cap on the front of the actual stator, this part here, that I printed up, which is basically encapsulated the bearing into the stator, so that we don't have to worry about this fan moving forward at all. So it can't push out. It's basically riding on the bearing like it's supposed to, but it's gonna put some forward pressure on the bearing, which is why these high-speed bearings, you know, high-temperature, high-speed bearings are kind of crucial for that. So yeah, an automotive bearing is really the best choice for this, because you're going to get not only the heat from rotation, but you're also going to get the force from the fan pulling forward. And that's why I designed it this way. So that's all basically on the inside of this. So this will come apart again, and like I mentioned before, I'm going to do a live where we actually assemble everything permanently when everything's done and ready to go. Once I've fitted everything looks good, then we're gonna fit everything here, and we may just set it in here. We're gonna take a look and see how that fits. And I may have to do some modifications because of the legs here. The legs here are going to interfere with the back points here, but this is the cowling for the other motor. Basically, the way it fits. Did I strap that down? I sure did. Okay. Let me do that. I'll probably manually cut them out, just so I have a casing to do a test with. But this one here, it's the same idea, where on this one I had to index it because of these front pieces right here when I was doing the front drive. get it in there. And then it would fit over the rear rail. But obviously it caused some issues in getting it in there. But now it's kind of, you know, one of those situations where now everything fits properly and I don't have to deal with that. So when I redo this case, this is originally like a one wall case. So it's like really thin. And it was just for testing. I'm going to close all these off because I don't need them anymore. Because it's going to be set. It's rear drive, so it'll be set. And I won't need the clearance for this. I won't need the clearance for this front section for the testing on the outside. So that's basically what's going to happen. So the only other modifications will be the test work cowling. And then, or the test work ductwork, I should say. Now one of the things I do have to consider is, yes, this is sort of designed for multiple applications where you can take this fan now, it's all basically one unit. Here's your ESC cables. You even have a telemetry cable if you want to program it, since it's a skateboard motor. But it does the job because of its torque. If it moves a human, it'll move this at 4-to-1. And that's why it's stepped up 4-to-1. So that was the whole purpose of the design, was I need a specific number of RPMs to produce the thrust I'm looking for. And so I found the gear ratio I needed, the motor I needed. And I try to start with the powertrain and go from there. And then once the testing starts, that's when I get to a phase where I can go, okay, I'm running 150 amp ESC. My monitor's showing me I'm pulling this many amps at this throttle position. So, and the heat on the motor is either negligible or not at all. And, you know, just collect the data from that so I can see that the pairing of this is working well. Hey, Stags, how's it going? Just doing a quick kind of an update before I get the carbon fiber rods in and then take apart this machine again and then put it all back together on live. It's gonna be fun. So, yeah, that's all I'm waiting for now, for those to get here. And the bearings. I did order new bearings to make sure I had new bearings and enough to fill the planetaries, because I think I'm gonna put 3 or 4 bearings in the planetaries, in each one stacked around, because they're only 10 millimeter by 5 by 4 internal. So the you know, since they're only like 5 millimeters tall, I want to put at least 4 in there in each one of the planetaries, and that'll give me a really good connection, like solid fit, because it is through a carbon fiber rod, and that's why I extended this end up. And I might even extend this up even farther right here. Let me try and rotate it so you can see what I'm talking about. This part where the rod goes through on the index, so that it can, right here, that looks better. So when it goes through, carbon fiber rod goes through there and then through the bearings inside the planetary. If this needs to be thicker, I have plenty of room to pull it up a little bit past the collet and make it a little bit more robust. But this was about, if I put them in now, once they arrive, and everything works good, I spin it with my hand, and that torque doesn't, and I don't get any play in it, or like on this one here, where when you turn this one, there's no play. It's just, if I turn it barely, you get movement. So you see what I mean? So if I get that kind of movement without anything torquing, not twerking, torquing, then I'll know that the resistance from the step up gear being kind of new and tight, and the resistance from the fan isn't going to cause any issues on these legs or any of the index. It's not just relying on the legs to be, to keep it in place. It is relying on the indexing I have here for this part of the mount, and then it's bolted directly to the stator casing. So yeah, that's how it's going right now. Oh, that guy. I'm sorry, I didn't see the you come into chat. How you doing? Welcome. It's not a fan. It's yeah, it's twerking. It is a I mean, PXD can answer the question for you. It's basically a high-speed electric turbine engine, and it will achieve roughly 32,000 RPMs on the safe side and give you 55 pounds of thrust out of a 3D printed turbine engine that you can drop into just about anything. Mine's going to be for a large drone, which is like the Strike drone, the concept drone that I have the playlist for. In that, I was using 70 millimeter EDFs just off of Amazon. So I kind of scaled up. And while I was looking for bigger motors, the issue I came across was how expensive they are once you get over 120. And if you want one with good quality, it is direct drive kind of engines, so there's a lot more amps involved. And I needed a better solution for that. So we know we're going to get our torque from our voltage, not our amps. So realistically, the idea was use something with a high torque for high torque applications, and then do a step up gear ratio from 4 to 1. So I did the math, 48 volts, 190 kilovolts. And then you times that by 4, and it gives you roughly 30. The top end is 36,000 RPMs. This fan's operating range is best between that 20 to 25,000 RPM mark. And then, of course, you've got the overhead for fine-tuning adjustments, things like that, when this is set in a drone application. I am making a drone out of 4 of these engines. So the ductwork that I make for that will mimic what you see on the Strike drone. Like if you go to the playlist, if you're new here, and you go and check out the Strike drone, the compilation that I have set up there, the playlist. The version 10 is basically was the one that flew the best. It was the one that I finally figured out how to work with iNav and a SpeedyB 405 wing, and an APD power distribution board at 500 amps. That was the bottleneck originally. That kind of kept me going to higher amp motors, to bigger motors. As far as like getting a like doing a Strike drone, but doing it in, an already pre-built 120 millimeter. And I also wanted to steer away from the expense of that. And then I wanted to kind of go with something that you could print that could push a lot of air and still be used in a drone application. That motor is a 6374 190 kilovolt flip sky motor. NC Matt, welcome. Thanks for checking us out. That motor right there has the torque, has the power to push this at 4 to 1. And as we saw before on the tests with the front drive, at half throttle, I was only pulling 11.5 amps. And that was around 25 pounds of thrust. 11.5 amps. Now I am pushing it with a 150 amp I think it's a Fly Color brand. It's called the Fly Dragon Light EX and it's a 150 amp HV. There's no BEC on it. It's 5 to 12S, and I'm pushing that. Pushing the power I'm pushing through it is just off of two 70C 2200 milliamp packs in series to give me that 48 volts. So the RPM range that this is capable of, stepped up 4 to 1, is perfectly within the operating range of the fan and its diameter. The diameter of this fan is 170 millimeters. And you know what's funny? You're not the first Worsen guy to say that. We need these for cars, and that is where I'm headed. As soon as I get the CNC machine, I need. But the first one that I'm going to be doing is a quad. So it'll be like your normal everyday mud quad, but you won't be in the mud. You'll be in the air. But before I get there, 4 of those are going to give me the Shrike XL. That does have a lift capacity of 220 pounds. Running off of basically 4 48 volt motors. I'm going to basically run 2 22.2 volt 6,000 milliamp packs in series per motor. So you've got 8 batteries. That's going to push the motor's weight, I think, probably around 8 to 10 pounds total. So you're still looking at a 5 to 1 on the thrust to weight ratio. That's the ESC, that's the motor, that's the fan, that's the battery packs. And that still gives you a 5 to 1. Cloud Cruiser, how you doing? Watching while you work. That's how we do it, right? Theoretically, it should work. It just needs to be better alternator. What part are you referring to, that guy? The reason why I went with this whole setup was because the amps were what was killing me. In traditional EDF engines, you have dynamically balanced fans like HP Hobby and Schubler and things like that. But these are really expensive fans. So you're looking at what you want a really good Schubler. You're looking at $5,000, and that's probably for a 100, 120, somewhere around there. And you're talking forced induction? I'm talking about flying around, man. But yeah, it could be used for forced induction. It really could. And once it's CNC'd, you'd only have to CNC it out of like an aircraft grade aluminum, and then put a couple of those on your ram air intake. Yeah, Schubler is good, but it's way, 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 way too expensive. Hold on one second. I might have a call. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, that's true. You can get for some of the Schubler motors, you can get kerosene burning ones, but this was the real idea behind this is to keep it electric. So, and a lot of people are like, well, they use electric motors to spin up turbines, but then they normally burn fuel. I think maybe some people are missing the point. I'm not going to burn fuel in this. I want to steer away from that. We mechanically spinning this up to the RPM that's necessary to keep the thrust up that we need for it is probably going to be not only safer but more efficient. And if you want to carry a liquid fuel, then use hydrogen through a fuel stack and power it that way. That's how I plan on doing the quad. So batteries at first for testing, but then I'm gonna switch it to hydrogen fuel stacks. I mean, if they're running cars in it, with fuel stacks and hydrogen, then I can do it with this. So you're only looking at what, 48 volts total at a peak amp rating if you're really pushing it at about, let's say, safely 100. The power distribution board that I have for this is a 480 amp from a Taro drone. So it's definitely going to have the overhead it needs for power distribution. So the idea is, build something that you can print or have CNC if you've got the machine for it or the money for it or whatnot. And get off the shelf components. I mean, the ESC came from Amazon for like a little over 100. The motor was only 83. The batteries, I think I got the pair for about $60, for testing. 70C, total of 4,400 milliamps, but not a lot. But at 11 amps, you're not going to be killing that anytime soon. If you're at a hover pulling, let's say you're running 4 engines and you're at a hover, so you're pulling, let's say, 50 amps, or no, let's say 40, maybe 80 amps. Sorry, 80 amps to run all 4 motors at a hover out of a 48 volt pack. That's not a lot. I mean, I saw that one, I think it was Sags that was telling me about that Lilium flying car thing that they were trying to do, where they had 64 EDF engines on it. It was like, how the hell are you handling the amps for those, man? I mean, 64, do you know how hot that's going to get? Basically, you're going to be flying that car around until it gets too hot and explodes. Well, I won't be using hydro for the XL at first. I'll be using 2 packs in series for each one. So 12,000 milliamps per motor. So you got 12,000 milliamps per motor. You're pulling a max of 80. If you're at full throttle, it can spike above that depending on what the force the motor's having to endure from the fan resistance and the air and so on and so forth. But I mean, I can push it up past 115, 120 amps. But these motors are designed to carry that heat. And that's the beautiful part about it. Now, this thing being right in the airflow, go ahead, generate as much heat as you want. It's just going to go right out the exhaust. So putting it directly in the airflow of the fan gives me that ability to cool the engine down in the event that it starts to develop heat. But the Strike XL will start with 8 6,000 milliamp, 22.2 volts, and each engine will run 2. And I'm gonna run. I only need 1 Taro distribution board for the power because we got 480, available through that, and I'm gonna probably push at a maximum, like peaked out lots of force throwing it against it. Full throttle, you're going to peak out at 120. So the board will handle it. And you're not going to be peaking at full throttle unless you need to burst it for some reason to avoid something or this, that, or the other. But typically, you're not going to be running it at that speed. Yeah, well, right, and Lilium. That's why they got criticism. You're right, is because they were saying it wouldn't work. Everyone told me the strike wouldn't work, and you go watch the V10 Maiden. I mean, you've seen it. Most of you've seen it. Anyone that's new might not have, but you can check out that playlist and see the Strike V10. And everyone said it wouldn't work. Too many amps. Won't be able to control it with the gyro. It's an EDF. And then came the questions. You know. You're asking about the RC batteries, I assume, for the Lilium project. No, and see, that's the thing. It's not practical. It wasn't practical because of how they were going about it. They were trying to pull too many amps. And what are you going to do with that heat? Now, personally, if I would have been stuck in that situation, I would have recycled that heat. I would have grabbed the heat off of the connections and where the heat was generated. I would have grabbed it off with Peltier circuits. And then we used reversing the Peltier circuit's polarity by applying heat to the cold side and cooling the hot side, and created energy off of that heat that they were developing. And then they could have actually had a surplus of energy that went back into the system. But nobody thought about that for some reason. That's what you do with your heat. You use Peltiers and you recycle that heat back into usable energy. Energy doesn't disappear, it just changes form. All you gotta do is catch it. That's the whole point. Yes, all of those who might be viewing me this evening, or this morning, this afternoon, wherever you may be, please join the Discord and be welcomed into the society of DPC. Well, here we change accents on a whim. And drink our coffee out of either ale horns or stubby fan mugs. Yes, it is my job not only to create, but to entertain. That's why I've been successfully married for 16 years. I can create and entertain. You got to be best friends with your wife. You know, because we still sit and laugh at stuff that's just ridiculous. We're scrolling through reels and stuff. You got not like sending reels to each other from across the house. We do that, you know, a lot because it's just funny. But yeah, we'll be like laying in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, looking at the reels and laughing at stuff. Usually we're laughing mainly at the people who are ranting on there, you know. And we're like, and we guess right before we see it. Right before we see whatever reel we're going to see, because we know it's going to be some political thing, we're going to go, if you see a septum ring, be prepared for a rant. So that's I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. I that's what I've noticed, you know. Just stay away from people with that septum piercing, you know, and I think you'll be safe. And if it's septum piercing and purple hair, fucking run, dude. Fucking run. Because all that's going to be is you're not going to get a word in edgewise, and no one's going to listen to you because they've come up to you with their ideas, and you can't change their mind. So don't waste your time, man. This is America. We got other stuff to do, like finish a wall. And don't get me wrong, I know immigration's a big deal. It's the illegals we don't want. It's people you can't vet that come into the country that we don't want in here. No one ever said we didn't want people coming in. The whole damn country was built by immigrants. You know, and I hate it when they use racism to try and, you know, flip the narrative. Like, oh, the white people are the problem. Now apparently the white people are the problem. And white's not a race. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. We're either all English or Irish or Scottish or some other amalgamation that makes our pigment a different color or a lighter shade. But everyone's calling us white people. Okay, fine. If you're going to be that literal about it, fine. Yes, I mean, I'm actually not white. I'm slightly tan colored. You know, maybe we're FDE. You know, but I never had any problem with immigration. I mean, I think my great grandfather on my father's side was from Valencia, Spain, and that's when I found out that my actual last name is Valencia. It's not what it is now, and that's because my father, his stepfather, had a different last name. So they carried that over, but his birth last name was Valencia, and I found that interesting. And I'm finding all this stuff out through ancestry because I did the I don't know how many people have done the DNA thing. Apparently, a lot of people have done the DNA thing on ancestry because I have like 63,000 relatives. So it's insane. That's not even an exaggeration, you know? And yeah, it took me a long time to try and get my roots narrowed down. But it's mainly England, Scotland, Ireland, Basque. I like Basque. That's where I guess my blue eyes came from. And definitely Scottish. You can see that in the beard. So yeah, it was really kind of cool to find out because I wasn't, I didn't have my father around, and my mom was disabled, and my grandmother was, half Cherokee Indian, which I think she didn't know was probably wrong. Maybe she knew it was right, or I'm not sure. I don't know. I have a lot of Montauk ancestors. So I have ancestors in my tree. They're all Montauk chiefs and stuff like that, and Montauk princesses and things like that. And then I've got like Cicely Neville in there, and on the English side, and Robert the Bruce. He's my great grandfather. I've got, I think it's King Richard. Was it the fourth? The Plantagenet. He was called the Kingmaker. He's my grandfather. A lot of Talbots and Nevilles are in there. So, War of the Roses. That's where we come from. And this was all a surprise to me. I mean, it was like a huge surprise to me. But, and I know I'm getting off subject, but I'm just chatting because I wanted to kind of show you the dry fit on the motor. And it's going to come back apart, and then we're going to, when I get those rods here, we're going to get everything together, and then we're going to do another live where we do a spin up where you guys are watching this thing not only go together live, so you're like, okay, this is how he's doing it all, and then we get to watch the spin up. We get to see what she does. One of those bigger teeth, I think she'll be able to bite a little bit harder. And we won't lose those gears at half throttle like the other one I was using. Oh, the border drone concept. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, I want to get in on that one. You imagine a bunch of Shrike XLs? It's going to be like friggin' the first Terminator. You know what I'm talking about, like right at the beginning. Right at the beginning when those drones are going around and they're just like, firing lasers at everybody. Yeah. This time you're going to see the same thing happen, but I mean, because when a lot of movies have kind of predicted some of the future, and I think that's what's hilarious. Because but instead of Skynet, it's gonna be Shrike XL on the side. Shrike XL Drone Patrol. That kind of thing. I'm not part of Skynet. I am Skynet. Welcome. Are you a useful biological organism? I'm just kidding. Yeah, Skynet's up. We just don't know yet. It's like just lying in wait. Wait for the right moment. But yeah. On one of the video, I think what I'll end up doing is putting up a video where I do a screen capture. Because I've already designed the XL. The whole platform's been designed. You guys, some of you have already seen pictures of it. And it's a pretty simple concept. Kind of reminds you of the Shrike V10, except a little bit longer bodied. That's for the purpose of putting PXD squared on it. So we can test it out. So yeah, that's what's gonna end up happening. Hold on one second, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Oh, I'm back, and so is our crippling depression. How's it going? My name's Jeff. Thanks for stopping by. Are you already gone? Okay, so I'll just let you kind of look. It'll be like a showcase of what's going on here. So there's the showcase of what's going on. The gears are spinning. I'm waiting for carbon fiber rods. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. This could adorn your coffee table soon. Wow, I know that can you imagine putting like UV lights behind this and then running it at half RPMs to catch mosquitoes? Just like brap! That'd be funny. Throw them through into the grid and then watch them explode when they hit the grid on the other side. That's not what it's used for. But it could be used for that. There are so many applications. Like if you have a huge intake system on the top of your car and you have a tunnel ram with a couple Holly 650s and you got these sitting in the front and they're just glistening, polished, CNC'd aluminum. And people are looking at it going, what in the shit am I looking at? And then you start them up and then you turn those on and then just listen to your Hemi scream. There's plenty of applications for this motor. Plenty. But I tell you right now, if I see this in a duct for a shop to ventilate air, I'm going to kick somebody square in the nuts. Not even kidding, man. You're doing guide vanes to counteract exhaust thrust. Yes. It's on the actual stator. And you can see them on the stator. There is some flow rectification there, but if there does have to be more, it's going to be attached out here to the ductwork. But realistically, that's going to depend on what this application is for you. So if you build this and you say, this is for my jet, you may have flow rectification in the exit aperture already. Or you may be using, yaw fins and things like that. So whatever you decide to do with this motor, that's what it's for. Just know you've got so many RPMs, so many pounds of thrust, and then decide what application you want it for. For me, I'm going to put 2 of them in a big SR72 model, and that's why there's a playlist called Mach 1, because I'm going to try and get to Mach 1 with an RC airplane. So it is going to be a bit of a bigger body and has to be fiberglass, and then the leading edges have to be heat resistant. I've gone through all that data. So that's one of the things that I'm going to end up doing. So you imagine 2 of these in an SR72 Darkstar model that it's scaled for. I guarantee you I'm going to hit that sound barrier, because that's what I'm going for. Yeah, and once I hit a certain speed, we'll have those scramjets in there. Because I'm obviously going to have to CNC this thing out of mainly aluminum before I use it in that application. Cram? Scram? What the heck are you guys talking about? Yes. Yes, we are basically, when I'm integrating the scramjets into the SR72 model, which I'm doing in Fusion, which I'm having the T-spline model, and I'm telling you right now, it's one of my weaknesses. Is just designing it so I can fit this engine in, because there's plenty of room inside the engine cavity for it. So you don't necessarily need it doesn't have to be as small as the intake that it shows, because you're going to be pulling in a huge volume of air and then compressing it right out the back. Then I can start using, scramjets if I want to. And those will be, of course, printed out of alloy. And then I'm going to make the sprayers and everything I need for the scramjet. You know how scramjets work. It's basically just, you get to a certain point where you're going so fast that you don't need, the compression alone is going to basically ignite everything. You guys all right in there? What's up? Let's see. Is the internet up?
I already put it in my potatoes.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's not use that for today. Yeah, the dog keeps unplugging my yeah, I'm on 5G. Wow. I'll have them check the router. Did the quality go down at all on the stream? Because the dogs knocked my power supply out of my router and it switched over to 5G. Well, 32,000 is some serious speed, but that's close to the theoretical maximum of this motor. What's going on? Is the router off?
It's off, like completely. Everything's plugged in, it's just off.
Okay, unplug the bottom of the router and plug it back in at the router. I'm on 5G right now, so it's fine. That router needs to be replaced. So yeah, basically 32 is serious speed, but for a 170 millimeter motor, the idea was to have the top end for, you always want some overhead. Okay, you want the motor to be more capable than what you need. That's just a general rule, when you're building anything. So, I imagine 20 to 25,000 is going to be a decent operating range. So that's what I think anyway.
Did it, nothing happened.
We got to give it time to boot back up. Is the modem on?
No, nothing's on. Everything's on.
All right, guys, give me a second. I gotta go be this. Oh, it's regained its Wi-Fi connection. It's on.
Oh, okay.
But the security system said it regained it. So, okay. And I don't know if I can change back to it's stuck on 5G now. All right, well. As electric combustion system more. What am I missing? Hold on, let me read the chat. Yeah, the efficiency is going to be pretty good on this one. I mean, come on. You remember... Yeah, unfortunately, I've got Spectrum. I need to get... I'm going to switch to Starlink, but I haven't been able to pick it up yet. So basically... Where are we? Yeah, they do suck bad, and they charge me way too much. Okay, so let's say you're running, like, I don't know what applications most people that are watching would use this for, unless it's an RC jet or something like that, or a drone or some other thing. But if you figure, a 5-to-1 on the thrust to weight ratio, and you figure your plane weighs, let's say, as much as the motor does, which would actually be pretty heavy, you're still looking at, 3-to-1, which is better than any military jet so far. And I've said it before, if you look up the specs on the F-22 Raptor Fully loaded, it has a 0.86 to 1 thrust to weight ratio. Unloaded, it only has a 1.6 to 1 thrust ratio. And it's capable of doing some of the stuff that it's doing. So if I'm taking up an RC model that's pushing two of these that both have a 3 to 1, and you have two, so it's a 6 to 1 thrust to weight ratio, that the Mach speed barrier is well within reach, even with an RC plane. But there's a lot of work to be done to get the body done. Plus, I've got to get goggles for it. I've got a X that can handle keeping up with the speed and a GPS that can handle keeping up with the speed, so I can track everything. Because I'm going to have to fly this from the cockpit, in a sense, through the goggles. By Spectrum Farms. So yeah, the idea is, you guys think I'll do it? You guys think I'll hit Mach 1? Let's see the reactions. Hearts in celebration, whatever the crap that the celebration thingy is. If you all think I'm going to hit Mach 1. There's a couple hearts. Okay, 2 people think I'm going Mach 1. Oh yeah, I'm gonna hit Mach 1. See, look, there's a general rule, and I know that Sags agrees with me. When you tell somebody who has ADHD and nothing but time on their hands that it's not gonna work, that shit's gonna work. It's gonna work, and even the guy who made it's not gonna know how. Okay, but it's gonna work. You're going to see some spectacular stuff, and we're all going to be sitting here, even the guy piloting the craft, are going to be going, holy shit, that actually works. So yeah, that's the way it works, man. And if anybody who's been watching long enough on my channel knows, I am on this literally daily. I have not stopped for over a year, going through all of my projects. I mean, this ain't the only one. You know, we've got this one we can play with. We've got that we can play with. I'm still waiting for parts. But they're coming. That's my setup right there I was telling you about, so I can show everyone the amps. And there's my battery packs. There's 2 of these. They're just cheapies, you know. But they work. They work well in series. To give me that 48 volts I need. 6 amp BEC, 6 volt BEC, sorry. And then that ESC right there. And that does the trick every time. And then the fun part is on the strike drone. I'm going to turn off the light for this because this is going to be cool. I showed you this before. I love playing with Arduino. So we're going to put, hold on. I'm going to put these all over the drone. And what's going to end up happening is, can you imagine? Epileptic warning, just so you all know. That's red, white, and blue flashing there. Loving it. So these are going to go all over the drone. All over the drone. And then we're going to see if if I can beat out the attention the Jersey drones got. when I start flying it over the city. Oh, that's gonna be a fun day. Oh yeah, because that's what I'm wanting to see. I want to get this thing done and lit up, and I want to get it over a city. And I want to see how many people, because I can go to 400 feet. Uh, you know, right now because of the FAA. But if I'm at 400 feet and you see probably 20 of these things littered across the outside of a craft in different directions, you don't even know that it looks like a drone. People are going to look. I want to see UFO sighting videos, right? And that's going to be your proof right there. When you look back on it and you see it, people are going to be saying, "Wow, look at that UFO! Have you seen that?" Oh man! And then I'm gonna book it. I'm gonna like turn around real quick, and I'm gonna kick it into full throttle, and I'm gonna 90-degree pitch it and just book it out of there. Like I've been noticed, and then everyone's gonna freak out. I won't be surprised if I'm intercepted by the military. So, yeah, that's gonna be fun. And on this little pack right here, has got, I think, 650s in it. Somewhere around there. This will run by itself for 4 days. Just off of this. I've already timed it. 4 days. What's Cali to New Jersey like at Mach 5? I don't know. 15 minutes? No, I don't know. I'd have to do the math on that one. If it's direct line of sight and you're flying, then yeah, I mean, you've got some. The problem is you got terrain differentials to worry about, especially if you're staying underneath the FAA's required air limit. And then I'd have to avoid any kind of installations that are between here and there. And that would probably, it wouldn't be difficult, I don't think. I just have to find out where they are and make sure I'm maneuvering around them. But man, I guarantee you I would wake somebody up at NORAD. They'd probably be like, what the hell is flying around under radar? I don't even think they'd notice it. At 400 feet, and the ship is probably, oh gosh, maybe 6 feet, because and mainly carbon fiber. With 2 of these engines, I doubt there would be much of a radar cross section. I bet I could go from here all the way to the other side of the country at full speed, as long as I had the, energy density. And I guarantee you, unless somebody physically saw it, that it would not come up on any radar in the United States. Because I'd be below 400 the entire way, like nap of the earth all the way. And since I can program the route through iNav, and it would use satellites to guide it, wow, that'd be one hell of an experiment, wouldn't it? That would be one hell of an experiment. Yeah, I'm going to add a HUD overlay, just like you mentioned just now. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. I like that one right there. And you got a UFO sighting video from Air Force. That's a good one. Mach 5, 38 minutes. I think I can handle that. Well, times that by what? If I'm doing Mach 1, times it by 5, and that'll give me my runtime I would need as far as energy density. But you also have to consider weather, you have to consider air volumes and densities at different altitudes and so on and so forth. So, and then the maneuvering is going to be interesting because you're going to have to stay below 400 feet, and you know how the altitude is going to change. Or not the altitude so much that the FAA requires, but the terrain's going to change. So, I could if I go from where I'm at now, which is only about 150 feet above sea level, over the mountains, you know, like over Tahoe, like what is it, 5,000 to 6,000 feet, maybe more. Then I got to stay 400 feet above that, and still 400 feet below. So it's basically there's this gap. There's this this cushion of air I can traverse over any part of the United States except any kind of military installation because you wouldn't want to do that. And I'm legally within my flight limits as far as the FAA is concerned. So as long as we stay below that 400-foot mark, you know, it would be fine. Why would it be perfect in North Carolina? A lot of flat land. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Buck. Yeah, infrared would be easy. Like a LiDAR. Yeah, that's a good plan. Boy, where are we going with this, guys? New York? Yeah, well, that's one of the things I needed to take into consideration is terrain. So we need some kind of forward-facing camera that can compensate for terrain. If I'm doing this hands-off and I'm running a flight path through iNav, or if I'm running it manually and following a path preset through iNav, I would want to be hands-on manually through the cam. I don't even know what the delay would be. This is why I need to do this. The link needs to be through Starlink because then I won't lose signal. And I think the latency would be pretty low. Zombie fires? What I miss? I miss a zombie fire? Oh, okay. 48 volts. 100 times 2, 82 pounds. Yeah, I can see that. 'Tis doable. But Ukraine, I mean, I don't know if I want to give Zelensky any more of my money. I just don't, you know? I mean, I get what's going on over there, but there's stuff going on around the world, and we're paying attention to the same stuff, if not worse, in different parts of the world. And we're gonna focus on Zelensky. Why? Because we have to keep fighting a proxy war with Russia through another country at the sacrifice of their people. I think it's stupid. I mean, yeah, of course we need to get out of there. Well, yeah, I know you take EU money. Money's money. But, look, what's going to end up happening, and you've seen, I'm sure, the reel before, is Germany's going to get involved. And for some reason, every time they go to war, they try to go to war with the world. Every single time. So, yeah, that's only a matter of time. You know? And people... I was called I think it was a couple of days ago, I was at the store, and I was wearing that shirt that said, straight white Republican male, how else may I piss you off today? And someone called me a fascist. Me, a fascist. They called me a fascist because I'm driving. And one of the reasons why they were doing it was they were screaming about the car I'm driving because it's it's got a Hemi in it. And I was revving it up, so I had to ask them to repeat themselves over and over again. And every time they did, I would rev it up some more. I'd be like, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Dinosaur fuel won't let me hear you." And a fascist for driving a gas-running vehicle? I need to buy an EV? And then they pull off on their Volkswagen, and all I could do was laugh. I'm like, they don't even know. They're driving a car that was created, the company was created by Hitler, and they're calling me the fascist. It's energy efficient, Volkswagen. Seems like society nowadays is not without a sense of irony. That wokeism bullshit. Like how they picked out a word and ran with it. Trump says Ukraine, Ukraine. Gets it if he says Russia, Russia. If both. But they never get ours. If we're going to help, and this is the one thing that I think would probably be the only reason why. It's kind of weird. It's sort of like the reason why we went into Iraq. We get attacked on 9/11, and all of a sudden we're in Iraq going after the oil fields. Made no sense whatsoever. But hey, whatever. I was just a soldier. Did what I was told. This is ridiculous. It's about the minerals. He wants the minerals. He wants the minerals because he wants to be able to import those minerals and help out the U.S. They brought a chip company into the U.S. because they want to start building chips here. Why? Because he knows that Taiwan's going to probably end up getting attacked by China. So that's why. Oh, you're talking about kinetic stuff again. I told you we need to drop some Home Depot sand from 30,000 feet and see what happens. Hold on, guys. You guys cool? Everything good? Oh, can you go outside, buddy? Come on, let's go. Come on. Come on. What are you staring at? Let's go outside. Come on. Come on. Come on. You're not getting a Twinkie. You're not kidding. Do you want to go outside? Do you want to go? You want to go outside? Come on. Go ahead. You don't want to go outside. You want the Twinkie. Watch, I can lead him around with it. He wants the Twinkie. This is my Twinkie. You can't have any. I don't think I can give you this. I'm sorry. I don't think you... You just burp? What are you doing, dude? No, I don't think I can give him Twinkie. I think he can have. Okay, come here, Colt. Sit. I need a high five. High five. All right. There you go. Good boy. Say hi to everybody. High five to everybody. Come on. You looking at me or the camera? Are you going to say high five? High five? Yeah. All right. Good boy. All right. I'll give you a little bit more for that. Get it off my hand. It's stuck. All right. He's a good boy. You'd think that would get viewers, right? No. Wrapper. I'm holding on to that one. Yeah, he's like, I'll be as good as you say for the Twinkie. He's on planet Earth. Tell you one thing. The technology we have now and the technology we have available, it's just sometimes criminal the way they keep it from us. You imagine how far I could get if we had access to what we do actually have? There's a dude in prison watching? Hell yeah. All right, man. I hope it was Kalinga. I had an uncle there. Oh, yeah. You know what? That makes me feel like that is awesome. That is awesome. If you're in doing time, taking a risk, having a burner phone, stuff like that, and you're tuning into my channel, you're my kind of prisoner. Hell yeah. That's awesome. You know what? That is totally cool, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. I am so glad that I could reach somebody like that. I'm really glad that I could reach somebody like that. Davidson is your family? Is I'm kind of reading the chat going, you lost me. I can't say who my uncle was hooked up with, but anybody local, anybody in prison watching, man, you know my uncle. You knew him, anyway, before he passed away from cancer not too long ago. He was hooked up with a good group of fellas. I'll tell you what. His name was Bob Tyson. That's my uncle. Knowing my mom, probably my father. So, yep. Yeah, I had a chance to have a lot of family, but kind of grew up on my own. So, you know, that's because the most of the time it was the correctional facility that was raising most of my family. I'm the only one that doesn't have a record. I hope they're still proud of me. Oh, man. War in America. Yeah, he was getting up there in age, Sags, but it's just it's the cancer. It's always the cancer. You know they got the cure, but you've heard the term, every patient cured is a customer lost. So he died for somebody to stay rich, and he paid his dues. He's done. He paid his dues. He's a free man now. But it's the way life is, right? I've been through it, though. I almost got caught up in it. I almost got caught up in all the stuff that can tear you down. Addiction, everything else. All started with my wound after the military. But I got out of it. I fought my way through that crap. Addiction is the hardest thing you could ever face. I'm telling you, that come down is worse than death. But I made it. Made it out. Now I've got beautiful children, beautiful wife. And I'm grateful to God for it. Yes, I know. I am Christian and I do have a potty mouth. It's one of the things I struggle with. It's a military thing. It's hard to shake. That's like eating everything on your plate in less than 2 minutes. My wife has tried to get me to slow down when it comes to eating dinner. She'll set dinner down in front of me. By the time she sits down with her plate, I'm done. She's like, why do you do that? It's not good for your internals, you know? You gotta, like, chew your food. I'm like, yeah, drill sergeant. I mean, if she would just put on a drill sergeant outfit and tell me to slow down, I could probably do it, you know, but it's been ingrained into me. It's been ingrained into me to eat fast, be on alert, be ready. I don't know, it's just something you never shake. Something you never shake after being in the military, especially where I trained. And I still remember my drill sergeants' names. I won't say it on here, because I don't know if they would like it if I did, you know. But, I don't know. Can I say my drill sergeants' names and them not get upset? Because on Benning, I was Delta Company. 347th Infantry Regiment, so Tiger Battalion. Sand Hill, baby. Sand Hill. Those were the days. It was before the whole obviously way before the whole wokeness thing came in, and they're like, we're going to take away the shark attack. I'm like, you do that, you're going to send out a bunch of baristas to war. Cole, get out of the garbage. Come on, inside. In the house. Come on, no, get out of the garbage. Let's go. In you go. Okay. All right, make sure you clean up. All right. It's rough out there, Sags, where you at? No one talkie? Yeah, army habits do die hard. They never die. They never go away. Yeah, check this out. All right. I'm going to be honest with all of you. Well, I've been honest, but I'm going to be even more honest. I do this stuff for you guys and as a hobby of my own, and I spend the money I get or the money that people help me with, and I put it all into this. I live in California. You all know that. It's an expensive place to live. I don't think I've seen an egg probably in like a month. It's like stuff like that, you know. But I live on, I think maybe around $1,800 a month. You know, I mean, my rent isn't as high as most. It's like $1,125, somewhere around there. And you know, I still get assistance from my county because I can't live off I'm only getting 13 from the vet benefits, you know, even though they've got me at 50% service connected. So there's only so much work I'm going to be allowed to do. So how do you get hired at 50% especially when you got back issues that weren't service connected, but should have been because it was because of the service. But I'm only at $1,300 a month, you know, and then I get the rest from the county, and then that's only $400. So yeah, a little under $1,800. But I make it work. I try my best to make it work. And as you can see, I've been making it work, but I've been getting help doing it, you know. I get help from my brother who supplied the printer. He buys filament when I need it, you know, things like that, because he believes in what I'm doing. He knows that eventually I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to get monetized, where I can start actually funding this more myself and take it farther than where we're at now. But I think I've made it pretty far for not having any. I mean, because most people, when they're broke, they're broke. You know, when they say they're broke, it's because they have so much in the bank account and they have, you know, no extra. That's broke. And that ain't really broke. I'll tell you what broke is. I've got some change sitting in the dish in front of my keyboard. And I think I might have $20 in my wallet. I don't know. But I paid all the bills. And that's it. That's all I got. You know, the gas in my car and the food in my fridge. And I got the internet on. And, you know, because I've got daughters, I've got to make sure that they have access to the internet or they'll lose their mind. And they do school that way because they're homeschooled. So there we go. Okay. That should work. I gotta put this on a different mode when I'm doing live. I think everybody, yeah, it's exactly it. That's the main issue right there. And you said it. paycheck to paycheck. And it was because of the Biden administration. They walking around acting like he was doing a great job. Shit. I don't even think Hunter Biden knew where he was the whole damn time his father was in office. Invade Mexico. Yeah, why don't we just take it? You know? And we can clear out the cartels and have some really good food, some beautiful shorelines. We don't have to worry about people trafficking people. You know? I mean, Trump did declare the cartels terrorist organizations. I don't see why we couldn't use some low-yield nuclear weapons. Or a couple of Moabs, man. A couple of Moabs on some cartel properties. I'll do it. Watch, they're listening to me right now. They're going to come after me. They won't. Even if they tried, I'd get them all. Every one of them. I'm not afraid. I got God on my side. I'll walk out there with a pencil, take them all down. Freaking stupid ass gangs and shit. Think they're big because they got tattoos. Supposed to be scared of that shit? Hell no. Oh, you walking around with your illegal weapon trying to intimidate people? Here's a grenade. Why don't you take that with you? I'll keep the pen. Yeah. I don't play with that crap. There's people like been going over to the building. You know what I'm talking about. Especially PXD. They go over and tag my building with that, gang signs and stuff like that. And right in the middle of them trying to tag one night, I hit them with a flashbang. And they stopped. It was fun. Then they got mad and started walking towards me. I'm like, go ahead, take another step. The next one ain't a flashbang. I mean, who the fuck do you think I am? You see this motor sitting on the table, you think I can't make something a little bit more effective than a flashbang? I ain't gonna get into it, but they didn't bother me after that. And most of the people on this street know. You mess with anybody on this street, any of my neighbors, or the property across the street. Let's just say, you're gonna get your bell rung hard. And if you want to come up, I've had people come at me with sticks and weapons and stuff like that. Yeah, smoke grenades are fun. It's good for if you need, like if there's more than a couple people trying to come at you and you want to screen. But I work more off of swift and blinding violence when it comes to that. Because I'm going to protect my family. That's what the Second Amendment is for. I'm going to protect my family. And if they get mad at me because I kicked them off property and they feel offended that I have somehow stopped them from, violating the law by trespassing and tagging on the property, I'm sorry that they feel upset about that and they feel like less of a man and have to try and prove themselves. But you're not going to prove yourself to me that you're a man by walking up on me and acting like you want to fight. The only thing you're going to have to do is wake up, pick up your teeth, and go home. That's all there is to it. Because I ain't messing around. And I don't care if it's more than one. I don't care if it's 20. Not one of them will touch me. Not one. Because I've faced off groups. Groups sometimes. Yeah, that's right, Sags. I feel you on that one. Get close to my family. Make me think you're a threat to my family. And I'll show you what happens. I'll show you what happens. You guys will see it. You guys will see the freaking flash from where you live. You'd be like, there was a huge flash in California right over the top. You said nobody, and we know who that was. We watch this channel all the time. Oh yeah, yeah. See a bunch of gang member bandanas and a bunch of tattooed freaking arms and legs flying through the air. You know, how tough you are when they need a mop to find you. No, I'm not playing around like that. This is a free country and we got free speech. We have the right to defend ourselves in the process. And I'm going to defend my family. And if you're not careful, one of these planes I build might just be circling your house one of these days. You know, up far enough where you can't hear anything. And you wonder why a Home Depot bag of sand comes through your roof. That joke was for PXD. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, man. They'd be calling Home Depot. I didn't order sand. Delivered by drone. Oh, man, that'd be funny. The kinetic energy alone from the right altitude with a 50-pound bag of sand. Yeah. Go ahead and park that hoopty out where I can see it. Oh, man, that's going to be funny. And drive that car straight into the dirt. Oh, man. But back to the project at hand. I don't want to get too far into my rants. You know how I get. I don't know if they're entertaining for everybody, but hey, you know, it is what it is. You know, but I just wanted to jump on real quick so I could show you guys the progress I had made and what I'm waiting for and how close we are to spin up. So carbon fiber rods get here. I put all this together. We get it on the stand. I'm probably going to leave it outside of any duct work right now when I put it up there. And just make sure it's braced up, strapped down, and ready to go. Or if I have time while I'm waiting for the parts, because the Bamboo Lab's pretty quick, I'll print up the secondary duct work for it. And it shouldn't take too long. And then I'll get it put together. Get it put together and get it up on the stand inside the ductwork. It's going to look way different because there's not going to be anything on the front anymore. That's going to be cool, you know? That's going to be really cool. Man, those are some big teeth, I'm telling you. It's going to make some noise. But, okay, so here's a question. Do you think you're going to hear the fan, the motor, or the gearbox more? If you're able to differentiate between the sounds with my phone, I'll probably end up running my, how will I do this? It won't, I wanted to do a vertical live. Most people will look for the vertical lives, but I guess it really doesn't matter. If I brought my webcam out and I'm running my sound through my Rode NT1 microphone, through my Rodecaster, then I will get the full sound spectrum. So what I'll do is I'll set that up close to the fan. Like the fan will be here and I'll kind of mount it here. So you're not getting the wind blowing into the mic on either end, but you're going to be able to hear the internals going and get an idea of how this thing sounds. I think after a while, basically things are going to quiet down in there as things start to wear in. And I think it'll quiet the motor down. But I think what you're going to hear first is that familiar whine of this motor or this gearbox. You're going to hear the motor. And then you're going to hear the wind from the fan. But I think collectively, it's going to sound ridiculously scary. So, depending on how it does sound, imagine 4 of them hovering over you. Gears and fan. Yeah, I'd say gears and fan. That's what you're gonna hear. I think that'll drown out any of the motor sound whatsoever. Well, here's the cool thing: the shaft from the fan, or that's attached to the fan, is using that TPU shaft. So we have dampening right now. This right here is PETG, but it goes through the fan, which is also indexed through the main shaft. And do I have one out here? Hold on 1 second. I gotta lift you up and get into the box. Okay, 1 moment. There you go. All right, so this is also indexed. I have a couple extras, but the one that's in there is the TPU for the AMS, and that is almost as rigid as this stuff. You could almost not tell. Like, you'd have to pick this one up and the TPU one up and try to bend the edge to see which one you have. And it flexes. This flexes too, not as much as the AMS TPU, but it does flex. And the reason why I went with that is because the layer bonding on the TPU is remarkable. And this is a shaft point that is crucial to the stability of the fan. So I went with the TPU version. The TPU version is in there right now. So we are going to be dampened. And to show you that the TPU, you've seen this one right here, right? You know, this is TPU right here, and you wouldn't think it was TPU, but it's because it's from the AMS, because it has more rigidity, and that's all single wall printing. I've showed it before, but it's got that flexibility, but you can't squeeze that thing closed. You can't. It's just too hard to do. So it has the rigidity and the flexibility, and the layer bonding on this is unbelievable. I've never seen layer bonding that was so strong. And I think I might be able to. This is a TPU prop. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to turn this on. Hold on 1 second. Let me get it set up. And I'm going to run that TPU prop, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Grab the receiver here so I don't chop it up. So this is a TPU prop. Let me show you. Let me show you on the iron here. It's got some torque. It's hard to hold. Battery's running down though. But look. Perfectly good running prop. TPU for the AMS. No damage whatsoever. No damage. And that's why I used it. Now I have to charge that battery. I didn't know it was that low. I know, I hear you. Yeah, it won't. It won't. It won't break. I mean, I've tried. I flew the P-51 2 or 3 times after landing it and breaking it several times, and the prop never broke because I went with a TPU prop, and that is. And you don't have to have the Bamboo Lab to run this stuff. You can buy the Bamboo Lab AMS TPU and still get props out of it that you don't have to worry about breaking if you nose in, or if you're like, you're landing an aircraft, if you're at an RC field and you tip the nose in, and that's usually the end of your prop right there. Not with this stuff. Never break that prop again. Yeah, that's the whole idea. And it was really just an accidental discovery, because my whole thought pattern was they're making a TPU for the AMS. I didn't know how they were going to do it. But after figuring out the chemical composition and how they set it up to where it would be, a bit more rigid, so that it could be fed through the AMS without clogging it, then, I thought, okay, well, let's try it as a prop. I'll try it as a prop, because I kept breaking props on the P-51. And the layer bonding, like I said, is incredible on this stuff. So you could make a propeller for this out of TPU for pretty much any plane. And you're going to be able to run it. And if you nose in, like you're landing in the grass or whatever, and you happen to tip the nose in, like on most planes, you're going to break those injection molded props. And then you're done for the day. But not with a TPU prop designed from DPC. I say the design because I've designed the prop. I did not, however, design the TPU. That is a product of Bamboo Lab. And I can tell you, where they failed in ASA, they have redeemed themselves with the TPU for the AMS. And I will use it for every prop I can. If I'm running a prop-driven plane, and that's why I can't wait till this little glider is done. Again, I'm also waiting for 4mm rods for this thing. But it's my rubber plane. I could crash the crap out of this thing, and it's just, it's gonna be fine. So that's another project as soon as I get some parts in. But I think it'll work out perfectly. So the TPUs, it's a little bit more expensive. I have to look on the site to be sure. I'll probably do a post on it, where I'll put a post up about it and a link to it from Bamboo Lab. I want to say it was like $40 or something like that. Or less. It could have been less. I'm not sure. But it just has so much versatile applications. I mean, you can do bushings and stuff like that you have to put a lot of torque on, and washers and things like that, and it's not going to mushroom out like standard TPU. So the refill, I'm not sure of. I don't know if they're selling. It kind of just came out, so they might be selling it in a refill now, but I'm not sure. I'd have to find out. Because I still have. Do you need to go outside, buddy? Go outside? No, I'll be eating the scraps that I need for the motors. Okay. Come on, let's go. Come on. Would you make up your mind, dude? No, get out of the garbage. Get out of the garbage. Can we go back in the house? So that's what you came out here for? That's to bug me? Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, in the house. In the house. There you go. Back in the house. Good work. Having huskies. It's such a fun thing. I need to get a yarn spinning loom or something. Collect their fur. Make sweaters for next year. I did use TPU for the gears, yes. I did a whole TPU gear set. And it worked pretty good. It failed sooner than most, which is what I expected, because realistically, with the old gear system, it was more heat buildup that was killing the FDM prints than the strength of the actual filament. So, yeah, it did work out well. But I mean, we all know about the layer bonding of TPU. So once that stuff is printed, it's hard to pull apart because it's a rubberized material. And then the AMS TPU being the way it is, being still TPU but more rigid, it's almost like having a galvanized rubber rather than just standard TPU. Yeah, the Sun gear did perform better than the Planets did out of the TPU. And I think it was because it was able to take the shock more. But the teeth were still too small on the whole thing. So while the teeth being that small works great for running it more smoothly and less sound, that's going to be a CNC thing. And I have two versions of this motor. One has the box like you see on the front of the other motor that holds the original planetaries that I was using. And so I have that box designed, and basically they're interchangeable. So you could put that box in here and bolt it to the stator and run that type of gearbox, as long as you had a material strong enough. Instead, I went with kind of straight teeth, so that it would be easier to put everything together. I could get this motor tested past the RPMs I needed to make sure the fan can withstand the RPMs. And if it does, which I think it will, then we have ourselves a viable solution for CNC. And then the only thing I would need to do is encase this to the point where it can hold grease or lubricants, and then add aluminum fins around the outside. If it's all milled out of aluminum, I'll add fins here so that when the airflow is going past the box, it's cooling down the lubricant inside the gearbox. And it's also the wind is going past the motor, which is cooling it down. So whatever heat's generated from friction or the motor, it can cool itself down. So its own operation is maintaining its temperature. Arms race. Well, I mean, I agree with you, Sags. I do. But again, it's YouTube. So it's like, unless this thing has a pair of tits, no one's going to watch it. I mean, that's just the way the algorithms work. And I've said it before. I mean, the proof of what YouTube is allowing and what they're doing is in the channels that you see, the channels that you view. You got, if it's a girl doing a reaction video or something like that, they're getting 21 million views, or they have 56,000 subscribers and they started yesterday, But you do something like this and you don't get too much attention. And I've been doing it over a year. So even YouTube has been doing its part in exploiting women to make money. So, I mean, they're getting ad revenue off their videos. I mean, it's just, you know, it's kind of disgusting the way they're doing it. They won't push this because the world has a sick mind about it. And they're looking at stuff, you know, that's basically exploiting women. And they're not pushing for more intellectual stuff, more science-based research, more hobbyist type of stuff like this. There are some people out there who do hobby stuff like this, have a ton of viewers, but it took them a long time to get there, I guarantee it. But you put a smiling girl on the screen that, you know, is wearing a tight shirt, and all of a sudden you're a YouTube millionaire overnight. So it's the disgusting exploitation of the platform, where they say they want to make sure that, you know, everything's cool, no one's getting harmed, this, that, and the other, and, you know, but they're allowing. I mean, look at the data. They're allowing the exploitation of women because that's what men are looking at. Now they might not be doing anything on camera that is would be considered grotesque. I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I'm just saying it's because they're female. They know how to dress, what to wear, and how to get the viewers. And I'm sorry, but that shit seems a little unfair to me. I mean, you know, it's just weird. This is weird. Because you're right. You're right. I should have a lot more viewers, especially after this long. And as long as I've been doing this. You guys have literally seen this thing come to life from its very beginnings. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. But you know what? That's what's going to make the UFO sighting that I do with this thing much more fun, because nobody in this is going to know what it is, because nobody ever fucking watched it. It's going to be the biggest surprise that they've seen. I'm telling you. Oh yeah, aviation. I agree. Aviation's been stuck in a rut for a really long time. Yeah, because they're trying to pull as much money out of what works until it gets to the point where the population says there needs to be a change, or we're not going to use it. And then when they're afraid of losing their money, then they'll make the change. And that's all you need to know about those companies. You know? There's been too many accidents in the air over the fact that somebody was trying to save a dime. You know? And it wasn't worth someone's life to cut corners. Whoever is responsible for that kind of stuff should be in prison for the rest of their lives. If you were an air traffic controller or somebody in charge of air traffic control, and you made a decision that was based on money instead of the value of a human life, and a life was lost, you should spend the rest of yours in prison. That's all there is to it. It's just the sheer incompetence of what's going on, you know, in the aviation industry. You got planes hitting each other midair. I mean, what are they doing? Sleeping behind the wheel? It's not a Tesla. You know? I've seen that. I've seen people like just sleeping while they're driving. Boeing has become a complete well, Boeing, yeah, they always have been. They don't want to build a new plane. They want to keep using the same rickety shit they've been using until it falls apart in the air and then go, oh my gosh, what a tragedy. We need more oversight in air traffic control, when it was probably just the worm gear that someone decided not to change out of the elevator because it costs too damn much. You know, that kind of stuff. Or a hydraulic hose. You know, there should be extremely high standards for an aircraft before it ever touches the air with human life on board. But they don't care enough. It's about the bottom line. There's people sitting in offices in these airlines going over acceptable losses. There is no such thing when it comes to human life as an acceptable loss. Unless they're stupid enough to attack us. You know, from another country. That's an acceptable loss of life for them. On their end, not ours. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if anyone has ever made a decision that cost somebody their life in an aircraft to save money, I think we should start bringing back public executions for that kind of shit. You'll get your day in court, you know. I just think that I think we ought to put you in one of your own planes. Send you up there under the same circumstances. That's what we need. But too controversial? That's not controversial. It isn't. Because you can't put a price on life. And when somebody who's running a company does put a price on life, then you might as well put that same price on your own life. Because that's what you're doing. You know, that's what you're doing. I'm not surprised when CEOs get attacked if somebody's suffering and somebody comes and does something about it, because it's all about the bottom line for them instead of the quality of life of the people they're supposed to be caring for. You know? That's all there is to it. I'm not surprised. I can't say anything to that, man. I don't want to say anything to that. I already pushed it a little too far online anyway. I'm sure there's people who take it farther than me. But still trying to keep it about the hobby. And ultimately, it's about a new era of flight. And that's what I'm working on. So that being said, I'm going to have to end it for now until I get some stuff that I'm waiting for coming in. And on the next live, this will be taken back apart so that you can see it all assembled. It'll be all assembled. It'll be put on that stand, powered up, hooked up. Everything will be done live so you can watch it from start to finish. And we'll see what happens with those gears right there. It's going to be fun. So, you know, we may get a carbon fiber rod go through there and something bind up or whatever. But those are the things we're gonna solve together online, live. Yes, we need it, and I'm going to give it to you. So, you guys, thanks for coming by. I don't know what the metrics are going to say, because whoever they say is viewing me actually probably isn't. But you guys have a good day, and I will see you soon when those rods come in, and we will get started on the assembly from start to finish, and then a spin up. So from everybody here at DPC, that's like I guess I check 0 to 10 employees. We thank you and we will see you again soon. You have a wonderful day.